Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mom of two. Do you struggle with your relationship with your kids because you carry childhood pain? Do you get triggered by your child's behavior, become irrational, and maybe even yell at your children? Maybe you want to be a better parent, but you don't know how. Instead of repeating old patterns, you want to heal your pain, become more aware of your child's needs, feel connected to your kids, and learn the tools to communicate better so you can truly enjoy your parenting. If you are ready to heal your childhood pain, raise healthy, connected, and happy kids, and end the cycle of parenting with pain, then join me. Our kids deserve it, and we can do this. Let's go. Hello, parents. Today we have a very special episode on the Masterful Parenting Show and podcast. Because for the month of February, I said to parents, you can ask me anything you want to, and I will answer all of your questions for free. This is me giving you some love, parents, and I just want to help you as much as I can help you. So I did get some really great questions. Some are really tough. So I'm going to go through the questions today. I'll try to get through as many as I can, and I may have to do a part two of this episode. All right, so the first question is, how do I build connection with my teenage son if we have been estranged for many years? Now, this is a common problem that we have in my high school, where I'm a school counselor. There's a lot of teenagers that have been away from their parents, or their parents traveled abroad to work to make a better future for them. But as a result, they were not there for their children. And so grandparents or aunties or uncles looked after their child while they worked abroad. And it has caused a lot of problems, a lot of disengagement, because then mom says, I'm ready 7, 8 years later for you to come into my life, and I want to bring you to wherever it is, Canada, US, wherever they're living. And then the child doesn't really know parent. So it's been a problem because I'll tell you, parents, the prime years for connection, to build connection with our kids and to foster safety, to foster security, is 0 to 8. 0 to 8 are really the prime years in our kids' development for attachment to their parents. So if you are away during that time, that is going to leave marks, imprints, um, messaging that may not be good for our kids. So it's unfortunate that this is happening. And I understand that uh, parents are trying to make things better for their kids, but there is a cost. And the cost is that connection piece with your child was not fostered. If you are there from 0 to 8, it's better than leaving when they're that little, when they're 0 to 8, because those are really those prime years for connection. Okay, so we can't beat ourselves up. If this is your story, if you have been estranged from your child, you made that decision because you thought it was the best decision at the time to help your family, right? To provide a future for your family, then we can't hold on to regret and guilt. We have to let that go and understand that we did what we did during that time because that's what we knew or we thought was the best thing. But now we're here and we have a teenage son and he's not listening. And it's really hard to connect with him because I don't know him. All right. If this is your story, I'm going to give you some tips. The first thing is we are going to really, really take time. Time that we have is going to be impactful. So it's going to be good. So whenever you are with your child, whenever you're with your son, you need to give positive encouragement, feedback, love. Um, do things for your son to show love. Tell your son, how about like a heart to heart conversation with, I regret not being in your life and I'm sorry about it, right? Because the child needs to hear that, from their parent. It'll help them because sometimes kids have messaging. They have an internal dialogue in their heads. They tell themselves a story when things have happened to them. I know this because I'm a school counselor and I hear kids' stories, like what they told themselves when they were little. And if they didn't have a parent around, they may have told themselves that I wasn't wanted, I wasn't loved, right? And we want to make sure that they don't carry that messaging around. We want to make sure that we correct that and say, no, it's because I love you. And that's why I left, because I wanted a good future for you. And have that dialogue with your teenager. Okay. And then we're going to foster connection by spending quality time. And that means we're going to find out what our child likes. We're going to find out what his interests are. And we're going to make time to do those things that he enjoys. This is fostering connection. Like I shared, I have two boys and they both love basketball. My youngest is really, really into basketball. He joined the team. He's 14 and he really enjoyed it. So every weekend, like every Sunday, is our time where we go out and we shoot hoops together. And he teaches me how to play basketball. It's really awesome. Now, I am not a basketball player. It is not my passion. Like I enjoy watching it, but it's not something that I'm really passionate about. But I do it because I know he loves it. And it is something that we can do together that is bonding time. And it makes him feel good that I'm trying. He knows I'm not great, but it makes him feel good that he can instruct me and that he can teach me something. And and it is really, really fun. So I encourage you parents to do things with your children that they enjoy because that is going to be good bonding time for you. So that's an opportunity for connection. And don't give up. Even though you lost 8 years, you can make it up. There is hope to make up that time with your children. You just have to be conscious that I'm going to make every moment count. I'm going to really try to make up for those 8 years by giving a lot of encouragement and a lot of love. And you still have to have structure and you still have to have values, but you're going to feed the emotional bank account. That's what I call it, feeding the emotional bank account with our children every day. So every day they're hearing lots of positive things about them. And we're only requesting things 10% of the time. 90% of the time is feeding the emotional bank account, and 10% of the time is we're requesting something. Do you think that you could help with the dishes? Or can you help mom with cooking? Right? Whatever we need, we ask them 10% of the time. 90% of the time, we are going to feed that emotional bank account because that is how we get connection with our children. Okay. Number two is why won't my child listen to me? A lot of times children don't listen to us because we talk too much. Honestly, like if we're doing all the talking, that's not communication. And the method that I use is questioning. Because when you question, you're inviting conversation. and it feels better than telling. So, um, if you're saying it's time for dinner, can you come downstairs now? Right? You're asking a question instead of it's time for dinner, come down right now. It doesn't feel as good, right? Whereas you're trying to invite. Whenever we are requesting, we should try to frame it in a question format, especially with teenagers, because they like to be asked because they're growing up and they don't want to be told what to do all the time. They won't listen to us if we're constantly directing them, right? Because that's very controlling behavior. It's actually not healthy either. Um, you don't want somebody telling you what to do all the time because then you feel powerless. You feel like you have no control. It actually can cause anxiety when you have overly controlling, directing parents. So, my strategy is use it as a question, ask it as a question. Do you think you can come to dinner now? Uh, do you think you can have your shower now? I do that with my kids all the time, and they respond. They respond because it's a question. I'm inviting, right? So that's a really good strategy is to frame it into a question rather than a direction. Okay. Why does my child lie, and how do I stop this? All right. Kids lie when there's many reasons why kids lie. Okay? So, and I know a lot because of working with teenagers for over 15 years. Kids lie when they don't feel safe with their parents. They don't think their parents can handle the truth because maybe they overreact or will get mad or they will punish me if they find out. Um, they lie when they're doing something they know is not right and they know their parents are not going to be able to handle it. Okay. So our job as parents is to create a safe environment, uh, a messaging that no matter what you do, I'm going to love you. You can mess up, you can make mistakes, you can make wrong decisions, but I'm still going to love you. And you can come to me when there's a problem. All right. Because our kids will not come to us when there's a problem if they do not feel safe. They need to feel safety. We need to be that safe place for them. I did a post recently talking about we need to be the oak tree, right? That that an oak tree is strong. An oak tree is sturdy. An oak tree can withstand an enormous storm. And when our kids are storming, tantruming, crying, arguing, when they're fighting us, when they're swearing, when they're showing emotion, like strong emotion, we have to be the oak tree. So we're still, we're steady, we're sturdy. We're showing our children that we can handle it. You can get emotional, you can get mad. I'm going to wait till you calm down and we're going to handle this problem because we can handle anything, right? Uh, I'm your ally. I'm the person you can rely on for help. So you don't need to worry. You can just tell me because I'm an oak tree, right? That's what we want to create with our children, that messaging that we can handle anything. Because when we give that messaging, they're going to talk to us. They're going to tell us if someone bullied them. They're going to tell us if they didn't do well on a test. They're going to invite us to help them. But if we overreact, get angry, punish them, we're creating unsafety, right? We're creating an unsafe environment, which encourages lying because my mom can't handle it. My dad can't handle it. So I'm not going to tell them. That's what happens. All right. That was question 3. Question 4. Why doesn't my teenager talk to me anymore? Okay. I've been through the teenage years with my oldest. He's 24. And I have a teenager currently. He's 14. And I also deal with teens every day. So, and I have for over 15 years, as I said, as a school counselor. So I understand this. And I've had students that won't talk when I'm trying to counsel them. Okay. So the number one thing is we never force anyone to talk because that's not healthy. Uh, there's an invitation to talk. But if they don't feel safe, if your child does not feel safe to talk or isn't ready because they're still processing what happened, then we give them that time. But we invite again. Do you want to talk about it now, honey? Is it okay to talk about it now? Right? We don't force because forcing is unhealthy. A lot of us grew up with being forced, being controlled. And I will tell you, parents, the way we were brought up was not healthy. Like we're learning now that being controlled, being forced to do things is actually not good. It's not healthy for us because then we learn um, and attract unhealthy relationships in our adult lives. And so we have to change that with our own children. That means we're going to listen to them. We're going to model healthy behavior, right? Um, and the 3 components of healthy behavior, uh, to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel supported. And that's what we're going to give our children so that they understand this is what's healthy. And I want you to attract healthy relationships in your adult life, not be involved in unhealthy relationships that damage you. Okay, so your child won't talk to you. There's a reason. And that means there's a connection that's broken for whatever reason. So we have to, first of all, we have to be self-aware. Okay, why isn't my child not talking to me? Have I made him or her feel unsafe? Have there been times when I haven't really listened and I just, told them what I think, them to follow what I think, and not really listening to them because that's going to close conversation if you're not feeling heard. So you need to feel heard. You need to feel seen. And then you need to feel supported, like your ideas matter. Like we want to try and make it happen for you if that's what you want. That's the messaging we want to give our children so that they feel um, supported and loved. Okay, that is why they don't talk. If our children feel supported, heard, seen, supported, they will talk. They will talk to us. But if there's connection that's broken, there's something we've done to break connection, then we need to repair it. And we repair it by apologizing. We say, I'm sorry, honey. Like maybe mommy didn't listen to you, or mom didn't listen to you, dad didn't listen to you. But I'm going to try hard to listen now. Tell me again what happened, what was going on, right? This is the conversation we have with our children. We're inviting them to tell us so that we can get into their heads to understand them better what they're experiencing. Because if we don't understand that, we can't really help them. So that's why conversation is so, so important. Okay, number 5 is about anxiety. Now, I'm going to tell you, parents, anxiety is the number one thing that I deal with teenagers in my school counseling job. And I've been very successful with kids with anxiety because I have anxiety, right, at times. And I want us to normalize anxiety because I think like when we find out our kids are anxious, then we get anxious and we worry. And that makes it worse, right? The first thing I do when I'm working with kids is I tell them that it's normal. You know what? It's normal. It's normal to feel anxiety. Everyone has felt anxiety at some time in their life. You get nervous when you have a test, when you're learning something new, um, when you don't feel safe. Like it's normal. Anxiety is not a bad thing. The, the problem is that if we can't get over the fear, if the fear consumes us and stops us from living, that's when there's a problem. But feeling the anxiety, feeling the fear, that's not a problem. You can feel the fear. And we're going to talk about like why. We're going to talk about what is causing it. What is causing the anxiety? Is it school? Is it your friends? Is it something that mom and dad have done? What is it that is causing the anxiety? And sometimes our kids can tell us, like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I feel really uncomfortable in math class because I don't understand the math. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's awesome. Now we know that math class is causing you anxiety. All right, let's figure out how we can work through it and help you through it. What do you think would help? Okay, so the reason I ask kids is because when you have anxiety, you feel like you have no control. That's part of the problem with anxiety is that you feel out of control. You feel victimhood, and you don't know uh, how to move forward from that. But if you invite conversation, if you ask, if you involve the person with anxiety in the problem solving, then they feel like they have more control. And I always say to my kids that I'm working with, I say, you're the boss. You tell me. Your feelings are going to tell us how we're going to move. But we are going to move. We're going to take action because you don't get better if you don't take action. I say it that directly. I say, you don't get better unless we take action. Like we don't have to take big steps though. We can take like tiny, tiny steps. Okay. But you're going to tell me what steps are you ready for? So right now, you don't feel like you can go to math class. That's okay. You don't have to. You see, like, and then whenever I tell kids that, they're just like their anxiety is like, oh, it's awesome. I don't have to go to math class. It's taking my anxiety away. But I say, this is what I say. So, but you have to come see me. We have to work through it. We have to work through the anxiety. Um, so I'm going to give you tools to work through the fear. Okay. And then we're going to get you help. And then eventually, as you feel stronger and stronger, we're going to take time and go to class. Maybe not the full class, maybe just 10 minutes. And we'll see how you're doing. Okay, how does that sound? Is that a good plan? And again, I'm asking. Why? Because the anxious child does not feel like they have any control. We got to give them control, right? And that's how I've been really successful with kids with anxiety is I work through them. So as a parent, I mean, my youngest, he's pretty sensitive and he has anxiety sometimes. And so this is kind of where I work with him too. I work with him about his thinking about it. Okay, tell me what you're thinking. That's another thing you can do with your children. Tell me what you're thinking about this, about the math or whatever you're afraid of. Tell me what you're thinking. And if they can articulate, oh, I'm thinking that I'm going to fail or everybody's going to look at me. Let's say they have an oral presentation. Everybody's going to look at me. Okay. So if everybody looks at you, how is that going to make you feel? Is that it? Is that going to be a problem for you? Yeah, yeah, because I'm self-conscious. Okay, okay. What do you think they're going to do? Like, if they look at you, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know? And then you share, they like let them share. Don't judge them. Just say, okay, yeah, okay, I get it. I understand why you feel that way. Right. What's going to make it better? I know you don't want to do it, but That's not going to be better for your life because we have to move through the fear. But what do you think is going to make it better? And then let your child be part of this problem solving. Okay. And if they say, I don't know, say it's okay. It's all right if you don't know. We can figure it out together. And then you can say, do you think that if you practice the oral presentation with me, that would give you confidence? Do you think that if we got a tutor in math, that would make you feel less anxious? So that's when you can offer suggestions if they're not sure. All right. And then see what they say. Okay, so like we're always listening. This is relational parenting. Sorry, parents, this is what I'm passionate about because I know it works. It works with my students. It works with my own children. It works in friendships, in marriages. Being relational is about inviting people to share how they really feel and then working on the solution together. Okay, that's what we're modeling, and that's so healthy. So, so healthy. Okay. So that's how I deal with anxiety. We're going to remove the anxiety if it's really severe. We're going to not make them do it. But then we're going to have a conversation of a plan to take the baby steps, right? We're going to let them feel the fear. We're going to say, yeah, and we're going to empathize. We're going to say, yeah, that is scary. And then we're going to invite them into the problem solving of it. Okay. But again, we're not forcing. We are not forcing. The only thing is like if a child is not coming to school, if you have a son or daughter that's not coming to school because their anxiety is so bad, then parents, I would advise like just to get them checked by the doctor because there could be, I've had students that have had low iron and that affects mood. So nutritionally, if they are missing something, they're going to be tired and moody, right? And sometimes we do miss nutrition in the teen years because we're growing so quickly and they need to be eating properly. So get your child checked out for that. And then if you can rule that out, then you can say, I know you want to stay in bed all day and you don't want to go to school, honey, but how does that help you in your life? Right? Not going to school, is that good for your future? And they're going to know, they're going to be like, no, it's not. Okay. So how about we do this? How about I bring you to talk to the counselor? We can talk to the counselor together about what's happening, why you don't want to go to school. What do you think of that? Right? So we're moving our children into action. Okay. We can't let them just fall apart and not do anything. That is not our job as parents. Our job as parents is to always be moving them to things that are good for them, that's going to help them in their lives. So we can't give up on them if they're struggling. And we don't allow them to give up on themselves. We are their support. We are their help. Okay. So I hope that helps a lot with the anxiety piece. We could do a whole show on anxiety. Because there is like the other thing too is there are methods of dealing with anxiety because you have signals the anxiety is coming, right? You might have heart palpitations or you might be like shaking. I have a student that shakes. Your body's going to tell you you're feeling anxious. And you can ask your child, okay, so what's happening in your body when you're feeling these feelings? And I can tell you. And you can say, okay, those are the warning signs that you're feeling anxious or you're going to have a panic attack or something. So we listen to the body. Okay. Now, sometimes breathing works. So sometimes I'll do deep breathing with my students. I'll say, okay, let's breathe. Let's take 3 deep breaths and we're going to blow out We're going to take a deep breath for 5, and then we're going to blow out for 10 seconds, something like that. So we'll go through just relaxing the body so that we're not in that state, right? Um, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes kids are like, I don't like deep breathing, which is totally fine. Like if it's not working, they're going to try a different method. So I also use stress balls, like squeezy balls. Um, or I use something like a toy, something that they can maneuver, or a puzzle or something like that. Like I do have like fidget toys in my office. I use that with kids with severe anxiety. And that seems to help them because now they're getting out of their head and they're getting into their hands and they're focusing on uh, working on their hands and getting out of the thoughts that are creating anxiety. Remember, our thoughts create anxiety. What we are thinking is creating the anxiety, right? But remember, our thoughts are not real and we can change them at any time. So we just have to work on, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling. And maybe I can think about it in a different way. So that's the other piece that I work on with kids with anxiety is just helping them to think of things in a different way, right? Don't think of it as something that's scary, but think of it as something that's challenging, that it's something that's going to help you grow. Um, what kind of person do you want to be? Like, what kind of adult do you want to be? Right? Do you want to be a confident adult? This is one step in that direction. So that's another conversation you can have with your child, like, how do you want to be? And we can move through that to make you be that person, right? That you already have it in you. You just have to work through these bumps. Okay. So that really is the anxiety piece of this. Okay. And the last question I'm gonna do for today, and then I'm gonna save the rest of the questions for a part two. What if my kids won't help out with chores? Okay. I find a lot of parents are very concerned about getting their kids to do things. I grew up, so I do have a little bit of a bias here. I will be honest. I grew up feeling like I was the maid. My mom, she grew up in the Philippines, and she had maids, and so she was used to ordering maids around to do things for her. And then when we moved to Canada, um, my mom didn't have a maid anymore. And so she put on a lot of chores on me as a young age, in a young age. Uh, and now I understand that that actually is parentification. Parentification is when we, as parents, are putting on too much onto our kids and giving them a parent role instead of a kid's role. Okay. And by too much, I mean I did a lot and she didn't do much. So like cleaning the bathrooms, dusting, but she wasn't involved in any of that and in prepping the food and washing the dishes. Like I had a lot of chores. So my worry is, parents, is that are we parentifying our kids by expecting too much because they're a kid. They should be a kid. And our job is to serve our kids. Our job is to help them. We're supposed to teach them things. They need to know how to do things so that when they leave home, they know how to do laundry, they know how to cook, they know the basics. But we're not piling on chores for them to do so we can relax. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we have to be really, really careful with because then that just builds resentment and that does not build connection with your children. And we need to listen to them too. Like if the chore is too much or they're tired or whatever's going on with them, we need to find out as well. So I say to parents this. Let's not put the emphasis on getting our kids to do things, and let's just work on having a good relationship with them. I will tell you, I don't get my kids to do a lot of chores. but I really spend time connecting and building relationship with them, feeding the emotional bank account. So when I do need something done, my kids do it happily. They never say no, never. Why? Because I'm not abusing them and I'm not demanding so much, but I invite them to help me. And they want to, right? Um, and my oldest, he does what he can. He works a lot. He works 10-hour days. So I don't put too much on him, but he will wash the dishes. If the dishes are dirty, he'll wash them. He'll make a meal once in a while. Uh, and he shares his food, So like I'm not worried about him growing up and not being able to do these things because he will be able to. But when we focus on the relationship first, building the connection, building the relationship, feeding the emotional bank account, we're not going to have fights about chores. We're going to be able to work this out peacefully. Do you think you could? And then again, I said I'm a relation parent, so we're gonna have a question. We're gonna be like, do you think you could do the dishes tonight because mom's got to work late? Or do you mind vacuuming? I did this. I want my kids to know I'm doing things. So do you think you could help out with this, right? Because my experience was my mom didn't do it and I did everything. And so then I was resentful. So I want my kids to know that, okay, so mom washed, cleaned the bathrooms and dusted. Do you think you can vacuum? Right? My son never says no, never. Okay. And the youngest, I don't put a lot on. I do tell him like, bring your dishes to the sink, things like that, right? Because he's got school. I want him to be a kid. I want him to enjoy his childhood, and not have too much. But as he gets older, I'm going to ask a little bit more, right? Can you help out more with this? So, but you know your child and you know your own upbringing. I don't want to tell you parents like don't ask them to do chores. Like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, ask yourself, is it too much? If your child is saying it's too much, maybe listen. How come it's too much, honey? Why? Um, because I do believe in a good work ethic too, right? But my oldest has a really good work ethic, and I didn't make him do a lot of chores. So, when you have the relationship first, when you're building relationship first, you're going to get compliance. So that's the lesson is work on the relationship and then you're going to get buy-in and not have a fight with your kids. That's so, so, so important because we want peace, right? We want compliance. And we do that by feeding the emotional bank account with our kids. I'm going to tell you, parents, it works. It's worked with both of my children. It works with the teenagers I work with. We build relationship, and then they want to hear, what do you have to say, Mom? What do you think? They'll actually ask us, what do you think? Um, and then we know that we have connection with them. All right, parents, I hope the show has been good and valuable for you. I'm so excited about these questions. I have 6 more to go, and I will do that on part 2 of your questions. And feel free to send me more questions. I love answering questions. All right, thank you so much, parents. Take care. You know I love you. Bye. If this podcast inspired, blessed, or changed you in any way, I would love for you to share this with your family and friends on your Instagram page and tag me at Masterful Parenting. And join my Masterful Parenting Facebook page or DM me for more parenting support. And I will meet you here real soon. Remember, be relational with your kids and you will see a change. Love to all you parents out there. Let's change the world one parent at a time.